Hello, this is Sim Racing Corner and our review for FaceTrackNOIR. This software combined with your own webcam provides head tracking in many games including sim racing titles, and we're going to be testing it today in F1 2018. FaceTrackNOIR has been around for several years and sounds a bit like, and not to be confused with TrackIR, the well-known and arguably pricey hardware head tracking solution by Natural Point Inc. And that's because FaceTrackNOIR is compatible with games that support TrackIR, so the name begins to make a lot of sense now. FaceTrackNOIR costs a shade under €3. Yes, you heard correctly, it's very cheap. Once you've made your purchase, you're immediately sent a download link, install this core software, then download and install the plugin pack. This includes the TrackIR tracking and other tracking emulation support. After that, you're ready to launch the application and try it out, so have your webcam plugged in at this point. In this review, I'm going to be testing 3 webcams with different specifications and price points, and this should give you an indication of how well your webcam will perform using FaceTrackNOIR. Our test webcam subjects are as follows, and in order that I will be using them in F1 2018. Right at the top is a Logitech Brio, that costs over £150. This is a 4K webcam that supports 60 FPS at 1080p. It's a high-end webcam for game streamers and YouTube content creators. Next in line is the very respectable Logitech C920. It's more affordable at around £50. It's a 1080p webcam supporting 30 FPS. And our final webcam is the Microsoft Lifecam Cinema. It's a 720p camera at 30 FPS. This is the lowest spec and oldest webcam in this test and can be typically picked up on eBay for under £20. So that's our contestants, and by demonstrating different webcams under the same conditions should make this a very comprehensive test for FaceTrackNOIR. With a webcam plugged in and FaceTrackNOIR loaded, we click on the start button and this window showing our webcam display will pop up. This is our guide to correctly frame the picture. It's automatically picking out my facial features and drawing a wireframe overlay. That means it's working. If I move my head around, it continues to track my head movements. And this is what FaceTrackNOIR is keying into and translating into head tracking into compatible games. If tracking is lost, the wireframe disappears, but should shortly pick up again once my face is in view. I'll skip going through all the software options, as our review is how good the tracking is and not a setup guide, but I will run through some of the basics of the settings we're using for our testing at least. We can zoom in the camera view to help improve tracking accuracy. Under Tracker Source, then click Camera. The window will open underneath the main UI window, which is a bit unfortunate, so just move out of the way to find it. With the Camera Controls window found, select Driver Controls, then the Camera Control tab. So we had to dig quite deep to find all this, which is a little bit of a pain, but there you go. There's a bunch of other tweaks you can apply here to improve picture quality, but for me I just left everything else default. Once you're done tinkering around here, click Apply and OK to close the window. But be prepared to return to these settings to fine-tune things further later on. Only testing during actual gaming will you really know if everything is set correctly. FaceTrackNOIR supports 6DOF, which is impressive considering we are using a 2D webcam. However, in testing I found this to be problematic in F1 2018, so I disabled all axes except yaw for just left and right head movement tracking, and that's perfectly sufficient for sim racing. Under shortkeys, you'll want to define the center and game 0 shortcuts. These shortcuts are used to set your neutral head position and recenter the head tracking in game if it stops tracking your head position angle correctly. Tuning the tracking sensitivity is essential as the stock settings will be too extreme for the game. The graphs in the curves window depict your head movement angle input in the x-axis and the output angle sent to the game in the y-axis. It sounds more complicated than it really is, so don't worry, you'll work it out. As I've disabled all but yaw, yeah, sorry, that sounds a bit odd, but yes, you can see those are the only graphs reacting to my head movement. This is a very important part of the settings and you'll definitely need to adjust this a few times by testing in game. And I've already set mine here to my preference. And finally, smoothing. This is used to reduce jitter if the tracking is not entirely stable. A lower value as possible is recommended as it introduces latency that scales the higher the value that is applied. Okay, that covers the basics. It's not an entirely comprehensive guide, but this will get you up and running. You'll find detailed information within the online instructions of what I've shown you here and lots more besides. It's advisable to reference the documentation to fully understand how to set up FaceTrackNOIR correctly. Okay, so let's end it there and head over to the track. Okay, so I'm not going to run any commentary during the lap for each webcam. There's timestamps in the description if you want to flick between them or go straight to the results. Enjoy! That's done. 3 laps with our 3 webcams. If you watch them all, you'll see they all worked, but we've got winners and losers, from my point of view at least. The Lifecam Cinema is in 3rd place. Tracking felt the least reliable, and if tracking was lost, it took the longest to re-establish. In 2nd place, the Logitech Brio, the most expensive of the bunch. There was no advantage being a 60Hz camera, as FaceTrackNOIR only worked in 30Hz with the Brio, so we couldn't enjoy that benefit of the faster refresh rate. And that means the winner is the Logitech C920. Technically it performed almost identically to the Brio, but it's cheaper, so deserves the top spot. But let's get down to the nitty gritty. Is FaceTrackNOIR any good? Well, it's not without some problems. First, the lag. You can see this in the videos. My head movement isn't in sync with the tracking in the game. There's a delay, and I noticed this on the straights especially. Taking a glance to observe what's around meant a delay between the action and the reaction in the game. Enough to be a distraction and miss what I'm trying to observe. However, while cornering, the lag didn't seem to be noticeable, and it proved to be an aid much of the time. Leaning my head into corners panned the view in what I needed to see. And that's our segue into the second difficulty, that being the accuracy of my head input angle being consistently related in the game. Turning my head right seemed to be accurately tracked in F1 2018, but looking left often gave random results. All the webcams suffered this same issue. Turning my head left, FaceTrackNOIR would either hardly track any head movement or far too much. This made things more difficult due to this random outcome. I failed to find a solution, but I don't know if it was simply having difficulty with my face or facial hair. And this was the worst problem I encountered using FaceTrackNOIR, but it may well indeed be less troublesome for you. I would say F1 2018 is most definitely stepping over the mark for what FaceTrackNOIR is suitable for. Run it with Euro Truck or American Truck Simulator or a flight sim. Any game with less pace would be a better fit for this head tracking solution. Sure, it's not really good enough for F1 2018, but that's no big surprise. But for something under €3 and works with your existing webcam, it's not too bad in those terms, and you may find a use for it in your sim driving titles if you select them more sensibly than I did here. FaceTrackNOIR does require a fair amount of dialing in to get the best out of the head tracking, and it's easily possible I didn't dial in my settings as good as they could be, but I think I did spend enough time to understand the strengths and weaknesses of the software on the whole. So it does work within certain limitations, so it's not too shabby, but certainly not a complete TrackIR replacement if that's what you're looking for, I'm afraid. And that's it. There's a link in the description for FaceTrackNOIR if you want to check it out further. And there you go, that's my review for FaceTrackNOIR. I hope you liked the video. Pop a like and subscribe for more. So we'll end this one here. Happy simming, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye for now.